Hello, my name's Matt, and this is a kind of behind the scenes look at the making of my latest GTA Machinima film entitled The Batman. I'm basically just kind of making this to show how much effort actually went into this and how much kind of work I've put into it over the space of the past year and a half to 2 years that it's taken me to kind of get it done. I mean, I've had the idea for the whole film for about 5 or 6 years, but there just isn't a video game that features a game world that's as kind of rich and detailed as Liberty City is. And I think if you're looking for, a place a place that's corrupt enough to represent Gotham City, you don't come closer than Liberty City. So along came GTA 4 for the PC, and that was it. I was sold. Basically, I started writing the script and kind of intended for it to sort of be a bit of an amalgamation, kind of a homage to the last few Batman movies, excluding anything by Joel Schumacher. And it wasn't until earlier this year that I managed to actually get it finished to a standard that I was happy with. But even that got chopped and changed kind of as I went along. But then, as soon as I'd settled on the script, started working on the textures, loads of different ones, mainly for the Joker, because I tried downloading a Joker, but you can't download a decent Joker ped for Grand Theft Auto that isn't based solely on Heath Ledger's character, and I didn't want my Joker to just be a carbon copy of Heath Ledger, because that'd just be shit. So I worked on my own Joker character, which took me a few hundred goes before I finally found one that I was happy with, which kind of looks like a fairly even kind of, you could say, love child of Heath Ledger's Joker and the Jack Nicholson character from the old 1989 Tim Burton movie. And I downloaded the Batman ped from a website. A guy had already made that. It's an amazing Batman character that I used. But then obviously I had to, texture the kind of peds, the girl who has her face cut off, Commissioner Gordon, well, Lieutenant Gordon, the police, the livery on the police cars, the GCPD on the police cars, and on the back of the police uniforms, just that kind of stuff really. Alfred, the guy with the with the gas mask on, he needed some scars and cuts and putting on him, not to mention all the clown makeup and stuff. So there's a few characters that needed texturing, and that took up quite a bit of time. I think overall there's something like 1,732 files over 77 different folders, and these obviously mainly consist of video clips, but there's also a lot of textures, versions of the script, stuff like that. And I made a bunch of test videos as well, just to make sure that I was able to kind of achieve the shots I wanted to achieve and do the things I wanted to do, because I didn't want to obviously get into it and then kind of realise there was things I couldn't make happen. Like initially I was going to use for the corpses, to keep them still in positions, I was going to just literally freeze frame shots and then and composite them in, like do everything on blue screen or green screen, and then I discovered obviously you don't have things like camera tracking in Grand Theft Auto, so I was there are definitely limitations, like having the camera move around during fight scenes with the corpses in the background. So it all just been far too much hard work and far too difficult to actually do. So I finally just settled on finding poses where there was still enough, which luckily I was able to find enough decent poses so that they look as though they were completely still. That that kind of solved that problem. And not to mention, obviously, the Joker's hair being green. I mean, I couldn't really use a green screen because the top of his head was just disappearing. So, threw together a bunch of tests, mainly just Batman walking aimlessly around with people in the background and stuff. But I also did a test video for a couple of test videos actually, for the explosion at the end, just to try and... I did one that I was happy with, that I thought I'd probably use, but then I changed the location of the building and where Gordon's car was and stuff, so ended up having to alter that as well. And then of course came the recording process, which took forever. I mean, this was like, you have to imagine that you're recording each individual shot and then exporting each individual shot, and then not to mention having to find decent locations to actually shoot each of the clips in, and then positioning them using the native trainer program that you can download. It's a mod. Having to position the characters, having to make sure you get it. It just took. It was at times it was just a fucking nightmare, but got there in the end, and I'm really happy with the final product. The final product, of course, the result of hours and hours of post-production as well, which is it doesn't just cover editing the video together itself, but and obviously sound effects, soundtrack, dialogue, but also had to do a lot in the way of visual effects and a few sort of digital alterations here and there, because the Batman model, as amazing as it is, just due to the nature of the rigging and stuff, the mouth doesn't actually move. So unlike the other characters where I can just literally get them speaking and then dub the dialogue, with the Batman, I actually had to take the ped that I was using as Bruce Wayne and use that to do the dialogue. So what I do is record the Batman standing in a position, talking, etc., as though he's talking, as though his mouth, although his mouth wouldn't move, just as though he's talking, and then record the Bruce Wayne ped in exactly the same location, lighting, position, etc., doing, talking his dialogue. Then I take the footage over into After Effects, mask out the mouth area, basically motion track the Batman's head movement, and then basically composite the mouth over the top, and then a bit of fiddling and changing and color correction later, and it ends up looking pretty seamless, and I'm really pleased with it. There was also there's a door during the scene where the guy with the axe and the gas mask tries to kill Batman. The door in the background for some odd reason kept disappearing, so there's a shot where I had to actually get a still of the door and composite the door in. And I think there's one shot where there's a zombie standing up, and I filmed it on blue screen because I wanted him to stand up, and I couldn't find a decent animation where he was standing up, that was where he was still enough to be convincing as a corpse, as opposed to just a man standing still. So I basically used a blue screen on that and keyed it in. And of course there's the TV shots. Anything where there's a TV screen had to be composited on, because I couldn't play it within the actual game itself. So I had to composite the footage on, and then just did it. I mean, I always find that great fun. I get to throw together an entirely different sequence. Culmination of 2 years work, 30 minutes and 40 seconds.